This video covers the best location to farm for rank 1 to 6 elemental and spiritual spellments and which spell path to choose with concise explanations. No time wasters, let's go. So these videos that Smojo uploads are great, however, they are an inefficient way to promote farming spellments in those worlds. Instead, you should only be farming in Mushu for rank 1 to 5 or Dragonspire for rank 2 to 6. You will be wasting your time if you farm in any other world. If you have any character that is a low level, which means you have not completed Celestia, get someone to teleport you into the Jade Oni fight, defeat him, and you will get the Oni Slayer's badge. After that, go to the Crucible through the Necropolis portal, then use the first teleporter you run into and fight Boris, where he will drop 14 Spellements of the Elemental and Balance Skull. If you have a max wizard carrying you, it takes 15 to 20 seconds each fight and your friend can instantly respawn the boss. So no waiting for sigil times. After you're done farming, you can share bank these Spellements to the character that needs it. There will always be players farming in this location because it is the best spot. So if you don't have a max wizard to help you, change rooms and you can ask nicely if you could join someone's fight. For some reason, this method did not work for my wizard in Crocotopia. However, it did work for a wizard that is in Wizard City. So if the Jade Oni method does not work, you can always make a new character. If you don't have any extra character slots, unfortunately you will have to use the Elemental Retriever method, which literally takes absolutely forever. So I wish you the best of luck to collect those tokens. For rank 1 to 5 elemental spellments, fight Kanago in the Cave of Solitude, where he will drop 8 spellments each time. He is the only boss that does not shield, weakness, or mantle you, which is why we fight him. Unfortunately, the Mushu bosses are level locked and not Dragonspire, so if you do have a separate character that is in Mushu, then he is a boss to fight for rank 1 spellments. But you don't need rank 1 spellments as an elemental school, maybe you will need it for a spiritual school, and we go through that later. For the spiritual spellments, go to the Grand Chasm to fight Versek Ashweaver. He will drop around 14 spellments each run. For rank 1 to 5 spellments, farm Oyotomi in the Village of Sorrow. He will drop 8 spellments each run. If you need rank 2 to 6 spellments for all elemental, spiritual, and balance, fight Zarathax. If you need Lore Master spells, she only drops the balanced Lore Master spell and the rest will come in Spellements. You will need to collect 35 Spellements to unlock the spell you want. On average, you will get 1 per run. Now we will explain what path you should take when upgrading your Spellements. This is good to watch all the way through to know which pathway schools usually pick so that you don't kind of get hit with a Spellement spell yourself. So for example, Hydras usually balance will choose the top path, and so if you tower shield, you will get hit with a double damage fire hit, which does 1,000 to your face. So you definitely have to educate yourself on the different variations of Spellmental path that schools choose, which we will go through it right now. So for me, I've honestly given up on farming for Thunder Snake because I will never use it. You will only use this spell if you have the Lightning Elf pet, and this is because packing the Thunder Snakes will clog up your deck and you don't need like all of these, right? Deck fails happen so much in PvP, so if you pack these with beetles, you are clogging your deck. For Lightning Bats, you will upgrade the top tier damage because the utility only removes an overtime. You'll only use this path if you're doing low level PvP, or else you will resort to a Kraken where you remove a overtime and put a weakness onto your opponent. For Storm Shock, with the utility, you risk getting yourself Rochambeaued and you do not have weakness counters as a Storm. However, if you do want to set up a Scion or the Stormzilla condition, then feel free to do that. I would honestly go for the top path because when you enter battles, you do start with 5 pips. For Triton, upgrading the top is a waste of time because you have Triton TCs that will do max 1000 damage. So if you are fighting another storm, be sure to not overtime them, as you're gonna be open to a huge Triton hit if they do pack that, or they use a Kraken to hit you to get rid of your shield that you have on yourself, get rid of the overtime, and then place a weakness onto you. So try not to overtime a storm, and if you are, make sure you have the combo ready, such as a Wyvern into a Phoenix. For fire, obviously you use the detonate because the top path, when will you ever use a fire cat spell? Like probably never. And detonate, honestly, overtime strategies are kind of a risk because every skill can counter and shift over your overtime. So this card is meh. Phoenix! This is an amazing spell. If you do the Fire Wyvern into the Phoenix strategy, it's absolutely OP. This should be a must in your PvP deck. And Elephant is really good when you enter Shrike and your opponent's shield. You do so much damage with Elephant. It's really good. For Snow Serpent, just choose a damage path. This is kind of weird. It's not worth it because it costs 3 pips. You'd much rather do the Snowman. You'll have to be very cautious when you fight Knights in PP because the Snowman is absolutely OP, where it gives them a shield of your school. So if you don't have shield counters like a Pierce or whatever for your school, or if you don't have a one hit and the ice has enough pips to combo you from a snowman to a weaver or a snowman into, I don't know, a colossus or whatever, you're going to struggle a lot if you don't attempt to debuff them further, or if you don't have a shield breaker. So if you're a different school and you're fighting an ice, be careful when they shield. You're going to be open to a huge hit if you don't debuff them in any way. For balance, these 4 spells are quite OP. You're gonna upgrade the bottom path, and so if you are another school fighting a balance, so for example a storm, you will have to be wary about a balance shifting over your Thunderbird universal traps onto you, and then what are you gonna do at that point? For Gearhead, absolute banger of a card. It pushes a damage over time onto your opponent. So if you are like a fire and you Inferno Salamander a balance, well, that's a ripperoni to you. Hydra, we already covered that. Spectral Blast, usually balance chooses the middle path, where if they have a weakness on themselves, the balance will try to use your damage bubble and pray that it hits that bubble skull. For Myth, the main Spellements you would go for are these 4. For Bloodbath, that may be useful when a Myth has a Manda aura up and they can break their debuff by using a Bloodbath, add a trap on their opponent, and then combo you with, I don't know, whatever spell that they choose, and gain 2 pips while they're still in Manda. I see a lot of Lives use Troll to summon a minion, and this is really good against someone in Shrike, where the Shrike person will have to hit the minion and they cannot hit you because they are subdued. I think that's how that worked. It was used on me as a storm when I was in Strike. For Cyclops, it adds 2 traps onto your opponent, and you can do a Cyclops into the Minotaur, where it adds more damage with max 4 traps that you have onto your opponent. For life, you would be concerned with Imp, Nature's Wrath, Seraph, and Centaur. For Imp, you can do Imp into the Centaur, where it does more damage if you have a healing overtime on yourself. For Nature's Wrath is basically breaking a shield or whatever debuff that you have on you, like a weakness, and getting a blade in return if you have more than half of your health left. For Seraph, absolutely OP. It pushes an overtime onto an opponent. So if you're a ice using a frostbite on a life, well, that's going to get pushed back onto you. And then lastly, for death, the main ones you will focus on are these three. Vampire and Skeletal Pirate is only useful against a life when they try to do an imp into the center, where Vampire gets rid of their healing over time and puts a tower shield on you. And then for Wraith, this is the most important one that you would probably have in your deck. Most people choose the top one, however the bottom one is actually very good as well, where if the opponent has a weakness or like an infection on them, which is a very easy setup, then you can Wraith and then it will add a weakness onto your opponent. And please leave a comment down below, whatever comment it is. It really helps with the YouTube algorithm to spread this video more to other people. And don't forget to wear a crown. Bye bye!